Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Art Array. I am your host, Nathan Crockett, author of My Soul Burned, aka the greatest story that has ever been written, according to my mom. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is a little difficult for me to pronounce, so I'm just going to go ahead and let her do it.
Okay, good evening from Greece again. I am Theodora Kakatoli, and I'm very excited to be here today.
So, one of the things I found most fascinating about you specifically was so far all of the artists that I have interviewed, they've already had something published, whether it be a book, art, something like that. Whereas you are in the beginning processes, you don't actually have anything published yet. So, where are you right now in your process?
Currently, it's a very exciting time for me because I've just finished the first draft of what I hope will be my debut novel. So I'm still trying to process this fact because it's an amazing feeling reaching those two words, writing the end
Yeah.
for the first time, and realizing that you've written an actual solid story to the end. So right now I'm letting the main story rest for a bit so I can work a bit on the world building. So, which is also a very enjoyable part of this entire writing journey.
And then go ahead and tell us a little bit about what it's about.
The story has, for now, the alias title of Project Black Roses,
Okay.
and it's a character-driven political drama set in an original world, which I got inspired for by the Victorian area mostly.
Hmm.
And this world has currently fallen under a dictatorship regime. So by the time the story starts, we're at this point. It's a story told through multiple intersecting points of view
Okay.
from which every character has to explore not only their past, but also their individual choices and their impact, and also their place in a basically crumbling society. So the story explores themes like found family, betrayal, political intrigue, earning forgiveness. So yeah, it's a very special story for me, and I hope to share it with the world someday.
And then when you do that, are you planning to do self-publishing or traditional publishing, or are you still kind of looking into your options?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something I've thought very thoroughly about, and I think that the most fitting route for me is the self-publishing one, because I don't think that the traditional publishing with all the querying and rejections and the years it will need to publish the book is something that will work for me.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping to self-publish.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, most people go that route anyways, just because there's not really a whole lot, at least from what I hear, there's not really a whole lot of benefit from the traditional publishing anyways. So, and then I know you said you're resting right now, but when you do write, on average, about how much do you write, like either per day, per week? Like, what's your typical kind of schedule?
On work days, it's true that I don't write as much as I want to
Mhm.
because I have to balance a full-time job as a teacher. So I try to write a little bit every day because staying consistent with my writing schedule helps me stay immersed in my story and the world and the character arcs.
Yeah.
But on work days, my writing time is limited to approximately 1 to 2 hours. Whereas on weekends, this can stretch out to 3 to 4 hours, and on some occasions, even further if the inspiration really hits.
It's good that you're able to be consistent because I do know that is something that's very difficult for a lot of writers. So it's good. It's always good to hear. With my first two, I was actually able to stay consistent pretty well. This time, not so much, just because I'm also doing a lot of promotional stuff, like trying to promote those first two. Whereas, like, when I was writing those ones, I was just writing those ones and then working, but I wasn't doing the promotional stuff yet. So,
Yeah, and to be honest, it's something I'm afraid about, and something that has happened to me with previous writing projects that if I didn't write even a little bit for a long period of time, I lost the momentum.
hmm.
I didn't stay immersed in my story, other ideas intervened. So now that I'm working on what I hope will be my debut novel, I try to stay consistent every day with even a little bit of writing time.
And then when you write, do you use an outline?
That's a great question, and it's a very interesting case with what I usually do and with the current story I'm working on because I'm usually a plotter. So I like to have at least a basic outline before I start to write the actual story. It makes me feel a lot safer knowing the timeline and knowing where I want the story exactly to go.
Yeah.
However, with Project Black Roses, things have been a lot different because even long before I started to write the story, it was an idea that kept coming back to me over and over again.
Okay.
And I had a faint idea in my mind about the setting, the characters, where I wanted the story to go. So for the first time, I sat down and simply started writing without an outline. Now that the first draft is finished, it's when I'm planning to write a detailed outline, mostly to better organize the different subplots I'm gonna include,
Yeah.
to flesh out the character arcs, to refine the world building elements, to add such details mostly.
And then, what is your favorite part of the writing process so far?
There are several actually, and honestly, my favorite part is the writing itself, especially because I have to balance a full-time job and other life obligations, etc. So finding some time, which I'm very protective about, by the way, about my writing schedule and my writing time.
Mhm.
So sitting down without distractions with a cup of coffee and focusing on the story and the characters is something I absolutely enjoy. And another part I truly love, which I didn't expect so much, is the world building. It's the
Mhm.
first time I have to create a world from scratch. And I know it can be very demanding and even intimidating, but it's also super fun to try to come up with every little detail of your world.
Mhm.
And it's actually amazing how many plot holes of the first draft with the world building has already closed.
Oh,
It's
nice.
it's been it's very interesting so far. And something I also truly adore in my writing journey is the wonderful support I've gotten both from friends and from the online writing community I'm participating in.
Oh,
It because it truly helps me stay motivated even if there are days where inspiration doesn't strike as much. So I'm truly grateful too.
so what is that writing group that you're a part of?
Created a writing community in the Discord server where we have sometimes live meetings or writing sprints, or we share some quotes and lines from our works, or even brainstorming questions we're not sure about.
Okay.
And it's truly amazing because it's been a fairly large community, so there's always someone to support you and help you stay motivated. And I'm also in an amazing group on Facebook called Authors Supporting Authors,
Mhm.
from which I've also gotten a lot of support and motivation and even ideas about publishing, about brainstorming, which I didn't know before.
So what is your biggest fear as a writer?
Something I constantly reflect on, and I think that my biggest fear as a writer is a combination of both the imposter syndrome and creative perfectionism.
Mhm.
There is always this tiny persistent voice that tells you that your work isn't good enough or that your publishing journey will fail, or even, which is my personal biggest fear, that I won't do my story justice or the themes which I want to explore justice.
Mhm.
So what I do to work on this is to reflect and think and tell myself that writing is a constantly evolving journey. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon out of which there's always something new to learn. So this mindset is what helps me stay grounded to the moment, to focus, for example, on the writing or on the outlining or the brainstorming, and just tell myself that my main mission is to make my book the best version of itself.
So that's interesting too, because I know a lot of people talk about that, and I don't know if this is just a me personal thing or whatever, but I know for me, what really helped me kind of get past that was I kept working on my story until it was the best I could do. Like I eventually got to a point where I was like kind of making corrections and I kind of realized, well, that doesn't make it any better. So now I'm just changing things. So I just worked on it, worked on it, worked on it because it only took me about 5 months to write the story. And then I spent another like 18, 19 months just perfecting the language. There's certain progressions that I wanted to happen, like in the way the devil spoke and everything. The story is about the devil and her slowly corrupting from an angel into the devil. She's also the narrator. So I said to myself, each chapter, she's like, the way she speaks is going to get darker and darker as she gets more and more corrupted. So I would actually count, like I would actually go through each chapter and I'll count like, okay, she said 10 dark things in this one. So next time she's got to say 11 dark things or 12 or something like that. My main point is
That's
just like
true.
when you work on it enough, then eventually you'll reach that point where you say, okay, this is the best I can do. And then you'll feel satisfied with it. Because I actually published this back in 2018. It's now 2025. And even though I have evolved as a writer, I'm still proud of it just because I knew it was the best I could do at that time.
It's really important, especially I think for new authors to hear advice like that, because the perfect book can't exist.
Yeah.
So you have to make the best book you can write. And there's also this amazing advice I saw from an author who posts writing advice on YouTube, who said that something that new authors do many times is to compare their first draft to an established author's final draft,
Oh,
because
yeah.
the book you see in the bookshelves is maybe the 10th draft, the 11th draft. So you can't compare a messy first draft to a finished project.
Oh, absolutely. Like I know for both of my stories, like the first one, I know I did at least 50, and the second one I did, it was probably close to 100 drafts. Like it was,
Oh, wow.
yeah. I mean, I
That's a
wasn't
lot.
actually
Yeah.
counting, but I mean, it was up there. It was a lot. So what do you do for fun aside from writing?
Yeah, that's something I love to talk about because even before writing came into my life, book has always been a part of my life ever since childhood.
Okay.
So even now with a full-time job, and even though I can't read as much as I used to as a child or as a teenager, reading literature, any kind of fiction, is still one of my favorite activities.
Okay.
There's always a new story to discover, a new world to discover, especially now with the self-publishing and the traditional publishing industry. I've discovered some amazing new indie authors,
Hmm.
which has helped me a lot, not only to stay motivated that I too will publish my book one day,
Hmm.
but it also makes me happy because this is something I think every aspiring author must experience, that feeling of publishing a book and seeing it out in the world and seeing other people reading it and enjoying it and talking about it.
Yeah.
So aside from books and literature, I absolutely love dancing.
Hmm.
It's been part of my life for many years now, especially dances in the Latin styles like salsa or tango.
Okay.
And part and I'm part of this wonderful dancing school here in Thessaloniki, where we've built a truly wonderful and supportive dancing community, which I truly adore.
Yes, you're super
Uh,
busy.
yeah, in the artsy field too, apparently.
Yeah.
And after a busy week, I also enjoy going on long walks of weekends, listening some music and just rewinding after, as you said, a very busy week.
Yeah. All right, so we're about to wrap up here, but before we do, is there anything else that you wanted to let people know? Anything else you wanted to talk about that I haven't gotten to yet?
So, what I wanted to ask you personally, I'd be very interested to hear your opinion, is whether you have a favorite genre as a reader, or you don't have a genre and simply go with a story that applies to you. What do you seek in a story?
That's an interesting question. I usually like something with at least a little bit of a dark edge. Like I don't really like scary stuff, like jump scares or anything that's like really
Mm,
gory or graphic, but something with kind of like a darker edge, something like a Dexter or American Psycho, which that one gets kind of graphic sometimes, but it's also like a very satirical comedy, or even Batman, which obviously is not like a horror story or anything like that, but he is a darker superhero. He's my favorite. So,
absolutely.
yeah, something with just like a little bit of a darker edge to it is what I typically like. I do like things in other genres as well, but that's what I gravitate towards the most.
That's amazing. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's part of what inspired for me to write the story because I always liked not only historical fiction,
Mm.
hence the Victorian era inspired world, but I too like stories which have darker themes like a society that's crumbling or or a society where the human values are challenged. I
Yeah.
like darker themes too. They're very interesting in exploring the character conflicts, I think.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of times when it comes to entertainment, people are typically gravitate towards the opposite of what they are. Like typically like the nice people like the really dark stuff, and so it's actually very common. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It was
Thank you
really
very
great.
much for the invitation. It's been really fun and exciting participating in this whole project.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. I hope you're enjoying these videos. I'm going to try really hard to post every Friday and Monday. That way, hopefully, you'll get a little bit of motivation going into your weekend and then a little bit of motivation when you have to come back from your weekend. That's my plan. You can let me know if you think it's a good idea. Also, any other suggestions in terms of who I should have on, working on my intro, anything like that. I'm open to any suggestion. Just know I'm already aware that the audio isn't great and I am working on that. I'm trying a few things. But again, any other suggestions, I'm totally open to it. Don't be afraid of offending me.